Oh
Good
my
morning,
goodness
right?
gracious. Wait, I'm trying to do something.
Me too. I'm trying to move me around and get me right.
Here
I
we go.
wish I didn't look this pale.
You
Uh,
do look pale. What is
yeah,
going on?
this is not my normal camera. I have a
Okay.
new computer, and I am waiting for things to be delivered to finish everything else out. But I assure you, I look a lot less pale in person than this.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've never, don't take this wrong when I say it. I don't want the audience, but I've never seen you whiter.
No, yeah, this
Yeah.
is. Well, I'm a pretty white guy, but this is a little ridiculous. I
Just
think
not I normally this way. Yeah.
I make Conan O'Brien jealous right now. Look at this.
Jeez. Look at that.
So,
Yeah. So what the hell are we talking about today?
we're talking. I'm in California, so we're talking about going bi today, Ray.
Excuse me?
Bi-directional charging. That
Oh,
is.
bi-directional.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I get that. I've never thought about doing that before, but as it says, oy vey, we're charging both ways.
That's
So
right.
there we go. What exactly, when we say charging bi-directional, what exactly does that mean?
That means many of the manufacturers, not yet Tesla, but many of the manufacturers are equipping their vehicles that you can charge either, so you can take a charge or you can give a charge.
Uh-huh.
This becomes important when you start talking about the electrical grid. And there's a lot of experiments going on right now, including here in California, on during peak times using the batteries in your car
Mm-hmm.
that you've plugged in to pull electricity from your vehicle to feed the grid. And then when it slows down, or the off peak, you can get that back.
Now, is this similar to a house that has solar panels? And I understand that I think in most states, if you have solar panels on your house, and if you produce via those solar panels excess electricity, you can then ship that to the electric company and get paid for it.
Yes.
Would this be similar to that?
So the laws in each state vary a little bit. California has cut down on how much you can make on that, for
Yes.
example. But depending on the laws in your state, yes. And actually, Tesla is doing this not with their vehicles, but with their battery walls. So when you put the home battery walls in your house,
Yes.
they are experimenting, and they're actually using AI. Not a big surprise. As I've said a long time coming, Tesla is an AI company.
Mm-hmm.
It just also happens to sell vehicles. But they're using AI. So at the peak of the peak, when prices are highest, it'll pull from your battery wall and sell at the highest price to the power company. And then you can recoup, some electricity when rates are lower. This actually ends up making you money in the long run.
Wow. Wow. That would be fascinating if you could end up making. So let me ask you a silly question. Can you double dip if you have solar panels and this giant ass battery pack and your bi-directional chart?
I think your house can only send so much electricity at any given time.
Gotcha.
Right. So I think I see what you're saying. Assuming there's not enough coming from your solar, then you can pull from your battery and be sending out the maximum amount of electricity. I think that makes sense.
There's workarounds in everything. There's loopholes in everything, and smart people always figure out every damn loophole that is to their advantage. This if you had solar, and I don't know, in the state of California, does the state reimburse you for the cost of putting up the solar panels?
Yeah, they've shifted into a new program. The old program just ended a couple months ago, but they will still do that. They'll give you some money for power walls as well. Usually, it's through your local utility that does
Okay,
the.
but what I'm trying to get at is if the state helps to reimburse for all this, you can start with solar panels by producing all the electricity and then some that you need to run your house. And the state has basically paid for you to do that so that you no longer have a utility bill for the electricity. And if you have the power wall and a bidirectional charging, you can then create even additional excess electricity that you could sell to the utility, so that by the state underwriting you getting, you could end up becoming a profit center, albeit a small one. But you would have no, you would not only would you not have any electric costs for the electricity, you would actually be making money from the public utility as opposed to paying them money on a monthly basis. It could be a profit center.
To a degree, like you're not going to get 100% of your solar power paid for. You're not going to 100% of your battery wall, so there will be some cost there. But certainly, yeah, there's a way to stack this and maneuver and get it to a good advantage for you, without a doubt.
So let's say let's say you're a real estate investor and you have, I don't know, a 24 unit apartment complex, and you throw solar panels on the roof, and you create an area where you can install several power walls. How does this not, I mean, and the state reimburses you for a large percentage of all this. And then you get to depreciate the part that they didn't reimburse you for. How does this not become a profit center for like a landlord of some kind?
Yeah, there's definitely, I've been talking with my landlord about this a few times, about doing some of the very things that you're talking about. We have covered parking here, and they're just useless wooden, covering over the cars. And like, why isn't this solar? Why haven't you put these in? Well, you can get good, because I think between the federal, the state, and our local power company here, he really could get like 95% of it paid for solar. Now start putting in chargers in places. I just keep telling him, look, you could raise rents by doing those things, come out ahead. People would want to come in. People will care about that, and it'll be a good profit center. And not everyone wants to put up the risk and like, well, but if I spend all that and it's not. So I think not all landowners or landlords. I mean, my landlord's a pretty smart guy, but I think not everyone's necessarily sold. And obviously, outside of California, outside of the Southwest, you got to decide if solar makes sense for you. Here, of course, solar makes sense. It's sunnier more than it's not.
No, well, heck, when I lived in Phoenix, it was like 320 days a year you had sunshine.
Yeah. When I was in Tucson, similar. It was like that place should be blanketed in solar, I would think.
That could be an interesting way for people to go, to where ultimately they end up with free energy, and maybe even make a few bucks off of it. And so if you have to pay an extra $200 a year for your vehicle registration because you're driving a EV, you're okay with that because, well, you have basically no energy costs at home and in the car you drive.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a point here.
Yeah.
It's voluntary today, required tomorrow. Absolutely. Look, all these power companies giving out these incentives, and this is the big portion of who is giving out a lot of these incentives. Oh, we'll pay for you to install this. We'll pay for you
Yeah.
to install this. Look, in 10 years, let's not pretend that they're not going to recoup that money. Like the
They're
rates
going to
will go up.
recoup the money?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh. I
And
can't believe that.
Susanna, I don't know about you, but they're always raising my rent. They raise my rent every single year.
Wow.
So I was just saying that he could do it with justification this time.
Do you negotiate the rent when they raise it every year? Do you
I
negotiate it to a
fought it
lower
this
level?
time.
Huh?
This last time they tried to raise my rent 16%.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I did march in there and I had some words with them. Yes.
And
In the first time in 14 years, average rent in Sacramento went down 2%. So
why should
I
yours
went in
go up
there
16?
and I was like, so during the pandemic, when you said there was a shortage and everything else, and that's why you raised rates. Well, now rents went down. So, and you're trying to raise mine 16. So we went around. We've had some, but yeah, you should always push back.
Yeah,
What's the worst that's going to happen? They're not going to raise it more.
Yeah,
So,
well, I remember when Dara had her apartment and they came to her with a rent increase, and so I suggested what her counteroffer should be, because at the very least, if you say no, and well, they can't rent the apartment for probably at least 2 weeks, so there's 2 weeks rent loss. Because they have to clean it and they have to prep it and they have to paint it and they have to do what it, they have that expense. And then while they're doing that, they're losing rent that they could have collected. So isn't it cheaper for you to keep me as a tenant than to replace me? And I'll stay, but I won't pay more than X to do that. And they agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I've pushed back over the years, and I do know that I am. And I think I'm not saying everyone in my complex got the same letter of increase, but I have been here for 14 years. So I am well below the market average, well below what they're renting my apartment for a new person. So I've just been sort of.
So they'd probably like you to leave. They probably can't wait for you to move to Raleigh.
Maybe, but my landlord, luckily, my property owner, we've had many dealings over the years, and he likes me, so I have that in my favor. But yes, once I give in my notice that I'm gonna move, that I do not think there'll be any love lost there.
Well, yeah, and he should like you because he knows who you are as a tenant.
Yes,
he knows what to expect, and he has no idea what the next tenant might bring.
That's right. Look, in 14 years, I have had some issues, and I have been late on my rent, and I even had to pay some fees, but I paid them.
Yeah,
and otherwise, over the course of everything, I've been a very good tenant. I'm quiet, and I always pay on time, and just go about my business. So I know that he likes me for that. And I've watched everybody else turn in the complex.
So I guess we should get back to the grid. How if this bi-directional? I mean, I almost hate using the term bi-directional, but if this,
but it's correct.
If this works, if it really becomes something, wouldn't that take a lot of pressure off of the utility companies and the grid itself?
Yes, absolutely. So part of this is with it's called a virtual grid when you're doing this. Part of these virtual grids is the idea is to eventually start getting rid of peaker plants, which would save millions of dollars, both in building, maintaining, staffing. It would save so much money if you can just start pulling a little bit from everybody over time, you know,
Okay.
and this is a lot of people are putting AI into place to sort of manage this because it would be very difficult, obviously, for a person to manage or to set up schedules where AI can, you know, pick and choose the places that are, you know, the hot spots and can pull a little power from here where there's more power and send it over to there where they need a little bit more at this
Mhm.
time. And, you know, it could really save a lot on new power plants needed, definitely on peaker plants, and could make the power that's already being generated more efficient, which here in California, as we're trying to be all green, um, trying being the
Yes.
operative word there, is very important to make what we are producing to be a lot more efficient.
Well, it would seem to me as if you're on the right road. Um, Now, Teslas don't have bidirectional charging.
They do not.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that was. They're not everybody does, but I think the majority of them do have bidirectional. Um, you have to make some changes to the components in the vehicle and the charging, obviously. And I don't know if there's a cost that, you know, Tesla's trying to, you know, race to the bottom in the cost and
Hmm.
create the most affordable. I'm not sure why. I don't know. I've never heard the answers to why they're not. But again, not everybody is. But you have like Kia, Hyundai, Ford,
Yeah,
GM, who all are.
yeah. It would almost seem as if that becomes the standard, that it would be a competitive disadvantage to not have that as part and parcel of your product line.
I agree. I think it is a miss from my limited view of Tesla. Now, Tesla's good at making money,
Yeah,
so maybe it's they want, you know, they see the largest growing portion of their business is the battery walls and store energy storage, so they're just going to keep it there because if you can do it from your stationary batteries, you don't necessarily need to do it from your mobile battery.
yeah.
And so I don't know if that's their focus or why. I do know they're very good at making money.
Okay,
So,
help me with this. Um, Not every Tesla owner, and you are one,
mhm,
has the battery pack wall, the power wall.
correct. But I also don't plug my car in at home.
Okay, but now, do they, if you buy or lease a Tesla, do they offer you a discount if you were to install the power wall?
I believe there is a discount for the installation of it. So
Yeah.
I think you pay for the battery itself, but then Tesla's offering discounts with their affiliated partners for installation of those.
It just seems to me that not every Tesla owner can take advantage of that battery storage pack. Um, so
Again, check your state incentives because we California has great incentives on installing those battery walls, and I think, you know, upping the virtual grid is part of why California wants to have that happen.
no,
And I know,
I understand that, but I still believe that it doesn't make good competitive sense to say, well, you can use the battery storage wall, that power wall, to um, run electricity into your house,
yeah,
but you can't do it bidirectionally from your vehicle. Um, I would think that would still be a competitive disadvantage.
I would think so, but again, like I don't, I'm not sure why they're thinking that in their way. I guess Igor says, yeah, Elon just says if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, you know, maybe that's their thinking over there, that this just not on the top of their mind. They have a lot of other things to worry about. Plus, I mean, I think MK sort of has a point here too. It's you have to upgrade some of the lines um, going to and from. Like I know Justin's house, he couldn't sell very much electricity back because he just doesn't have the lines going into his house to do that. So
Gotcha.
we're still facing an old grid that is needed to be updated before the Obama administration, but they're kind of the ones who started moving. But here
Mhm.
we are still, and we still have a power grid that is woefully out of date. So we're doing a lot of this stuff, but we need major replacements in our lines and our plants and everything else. So there's a huge infrastructure change here, not just because of EVs, but just it's time to replace this aging grid.
If I hear what you're saying, the grid needs replacement or upgrading, regardless of the fact that EVs are at this moment apparently the wave of the future when it comes to automobiles.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think this is it makes sense that this is the way things go. Here and everywhere. I mean, these are being tested all over the globe. Like we got 2 programs in Germany going on. You got GM partnering with PG&E here in California. Everyone knows how I feel about PG&E. You got Audi dealing with it in a couple countries. You got Korea dealing with this. So, this is clearly the way things are going to go. It makes sense. I think it makes sense overall in an energy grid and storage solution that it's a one thing that your ICE vehicle is never able to do, which is give back when you needed to. So if we're going this direction, you might as well try to utilize it every which way you can.
There is one of the most interesting comments that I am going to share from Stuart, and
Yep.
yeah, I mean, isn't that a sad reality? It's one of the saddest comments ever.
Yeah, I mean, and he's absolutely right. We just have not changed that much, and no, and it is not transmission lines and towers in every backyard. We don't need that. We don't need as many towers as we have now. We have better technology. It's just replacing that is all extremely expensive. I mean, it took how long to get it to here?
What have you heard um, in your travels through our community and helping people with vehicles? What have you heard in regards to what some of the major new players in the EV space are saying about, well, things slowing down and demand not being quite as strong as they had projected? Have you heard anything?
Well, I know there's a lot of panic going on out there from a lot of these OEMs on whether they should be going all EV and whether this makes sense. I'd say the governments aren't changing their stances on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's some questions, and I've talked to some of the dealers, and Kia particular people that I know who work there, and we talk, and there's definitely some like, well, what are we going to do? The EVs are starting to stack up, and there's not a room. But I also say, yeah, but August is always one of the slowest months, so in the summertime wise, I think February is the actual slowest month, right?
Oh,
Correct me if
absolutely,
I'm
yes.
wrong.
Yeah.
But August is always down from July, picks up in September.
Well,
Uh,
but reading today's automotive news, it appears as if August was a much better new car sales month than those would have expected. And many of your major brands have seen dramatic increases in sales. I mean, 15, 20, 25% increases in sales for year over year growth in the month of August. So I don't know. Typically you think of August as being somewhat slow, but I think there's a real fear that things are starting to stack up. Here's an interesting comment from Igor. BMW is pushing back on EVs, plus Stellantis as well. So I don't think I am not sure that EV demand is anywhere near as high as what, at least at this particular moment, as what many of these manufacturers had hoped it would be or expected it to be.
I think EV demand at the price points that most of these are just are not. And look, you get things like Hyundai Kia giving you $7,500 off on a lease,
Yes.
but not on a purchase. Well, leases are a very certain subsect of the market. So, those who would purchase a Kia EV, well, now they're not even getting the $7,500. And a lot of people don't even know about that in the first place. It's not being advertised super well. So people just see that sticker price and go, it's too much. Can't afford that. And I think the EVs we've talked about this several times. Those who could afford that higher price point are saturated out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a lot of demand, but not at the price points they have. People can't afford those. We know the dollar's stretched to its max right now. So people can't afford them, so they're going to sit there. So what are they going for? I see people going for the Corolla all day long, trying to find, what's the cheapest. I even get a lot of Nissan Versas. Why? Because it's the cheapest car you can buy right now.
Yeah.
And I see probably 4 or 5 of those a week now. And I barely even knew Nissan existed a year ago. I forgot about them. I really did. And then now I'm, 4 or 5 Versas a week because people just can't afford these. And when it comes to EVs, look, even Tesla, they're at a great price point compared to everybody else. But even the Model 3, when you're looking at $42,000, the people need their $20,000 vehicles.
Yes. I would say for those people who are interested in a Kia EV and they can get the $7,500 tax credit they'll pass it through on the lease. If you're not someone who's interested in leasing, lease it anyway and then pay it off. Buy it outright. You still have that option at this point. I don't believe on Kia leases that they've taken away your ability to buy it either at the end or pay it off early. And
we help people all day do that on several different EVs that have the pass-through credit.
Yes.
I do this all day. Nobody yet has restricted that, but I feel like they're going to at some point. Like they're going to be onto this trick of leasing for 3 to 6 months, paying it off.
Yeah. But it gets you that $7,500 tax credit that you wouldn't have been able to get if you purchased it. And even if the vehicle might have qualified for a $7,500 tax credit, there is no guarantee that you as the purchaser would have qualified for the entire $7,500 tax credit. So if you lease it and you get the full $7,500 and you buy it, you can come out way ahead. Or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. That is, well, you wouldn't get the $7,500 tax credit because it's already being claimed. It can only be claimed.
But what I'm saying is, if this was a vehicle that even qualified for a $7,500 tax credit,
yes,
you as the individual who bought it might not qualify for the entire $7,500 tax credit.
Correct.
You might only qualify for 4,000 of it. Okay. So by leasing it and getting the full $7,500, you could come out ahead.
Yes, you absolutely can. And you know, a lot of the people that we deal with don't have anywhere near that tax obligation, like just nowhere near it. So they're not going to get. They'll probably barely even get the 4,000. So absolutely, like leasing it and getting the full $7,500 there. Drive it 3 to 6 months, and if you like it, you know, you can refinance it and pay it off. And if you refinance it early like that, the rates are going to still be close to new car rates.
Yes.
From the bank, because it's super low miles, super early. Like you're not going to pay these, you know, used car rates on it or anything like that. So you're going to be in a good position for that. Where if you just bought it and tried to get the tax credit, who knows what, you know. You better know what you qualify for and whether you're going to qualify for that full thing.
Yeah, you know, and the beauty with Kia is that on a purchase it doesn't qualify for the 7,500, but on a lease it does. And if you had your heart set on a Kia, lease the damn thing for 3 to 6 months, make sure you like it enough, and then refinance it and pay it off. And you've got a $7,500 tax credit that was not meant to be used on a purchase. You know, it's your turn to have the loophole work in your favor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is one of those things, one of those times where the little guy gets the loophole to work for them.
Yes.
Because obviously the rich guy is gonna get the tax credit, whatever. Although they're probably more likely to lease too. But you know, they can take that tax credit. The little guy finally gets one, you know, fine. And I also think leasing an EV makes sense if you don't know. Like, you know, maybe you drive this for 6 months and go, okay, I'm not going to buy it because I don't want to do this.
Yes.
Like, I don't like, so at the end of my lease, I'm giving it up or whatever it is. It's safer that way in that regard. And you still, you know, get that $7,500 to help you in there. I like these programs. I'm surprised that some people like Ford are not participating in it. Like Ford does not pass on the $7,500 to you, and I don't know why. I know we have some people on the stream here who are going to get mad at me for quote unquote picking on Ford, but it's just a fact that they don't pass it on. So,
well, you know, maybe they're going to utilize that $7,500 tax credit to offset their $4.5 billion loss on the sales of their EV products for the year.
I kind of feel like the $12 billion they're getting from the government might help offset that too, though.
Well, and they just readied another $4 billion credit line. So
yeah. So I feel like we might be in bailout days again. We're just not calling it that. We're just not calling it that.
Yeah, I would hope that we don't find ourselves in bailout days again. And this might be an unpopular stance, but if the concept of capitalism is that if you build things people want and you make a profit, you stay in business. And if you build things people don't want, you don't make a profit, you go out of business. Then that doesn't really leave room for government bailouts because you couldn't quite hit on what it was the public wanted. You know, because I can assure you, when I had my Golf USA franchise in Mesa, Arizona, okay, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work, the government didn't step up and say, "Hey, Ray, we're going to bail you the hell out till you do figure it out," and you know, because we don't want to see you go out of business. They didn't step up and do that for me, and you know, so I'm not sure that government should step up and do it for other businesses that bet wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I've always had kind of problems with the bailout stuff. I think the best thing that that Bush Jr. ever said was, when asked about bailing out the car companies, he said, if they're not doing well, they should make better cars. I'm just like,
Yeah.
yes, that
Yes.
is like, okay, so just make better cars and you won't have this problem.
Make the things people want to buy, and you won't
Yeah.
have this
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
And Michael asks, Tesla doesn't pass it on either, do they? For the lease? No, don't lease a Tesla. It's just
Yeah.
awful lease.
And
They're not leases, they're rentals.
yes, because you can't even buy out their lease
No.
at the end.
You can't do anything to it. You can turn it
Yeah.
in and walk away, or you can
Exactly.
turn it in and lease a new Tesla, but you're not getting any equity towards the new lease. There's not.
You get
So
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah. There should be no business that is too big to fail.
I agree. And Igor says that the West is slowly but surely crashing. I think back to the late '80s, and East Germany and the USSR, and everyone's like, "How do you guys not know that you're collapsing, crumbling?" And I kind of look around and go, I think not everyone just wants to admit when those things happen.
Yeah. If the concept of like I say, of capitalism is you're successful because you make and sell the things that people want. You're unsuccessful if you make and sell the things that people don't want. And if you can't survive because you're not selling enough, you go out of business.
Yeah, I can hear you, but
I think my camera battery just died.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
Well, I think that's a good time to end the show then. I will say this on my last thought of the show before we go is, we are definitely moving away from meritocracy society, and I think all the damage of that is starting to show, and we need to move back to meritocracy, and that's the way things work. So we'll see how this goes.
The reward should be for the good stuff, not just because we tried.
Yes. Yeah. Trying is great, and everyone needs to try, but you need to succeed as well.
Yep. No, absolutely.
I know, James, right? We're on an EV show, Ray. You don't have a battery backup?
What can I tell you?
Come on. All right. So we will be back, I think, Tuesday. We had a nice long weekend. You and Zach will be on tomorrow, yes?
Yes, we will. And and my suspicion is that even though Monday is Labor Day Monday, that my son will make me labor on Labor Day Monday, and we'll probably do the Daily Show, knowing my son.
All right. So we'll see you tomorrow on Car Edge, Monday on the Ray and Zach show, and then we'll be back here on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Thank you, Justice. And I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I probably look better than I've ever looked.
Well, you don't look as pale as I do. That's for sure.
Well, that's true.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Oh, that.